Hello viewers. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my personal experience with the Western world. I come from a poor, socio-economically backward region of the world, Nepal. My country happens to be one of the poorest and least developed nations of the world. And now I reside in Australia, which is one of the world's most prosperous nations economically, geopolitically, socially, financially, and almost in every other aspect that a country can prosper and develop. And I've encountered a lot of differences and contrasts with that of my own country, which has really stuck with me for ever since I came here. And it has had a very powerful impact on me. And I think it's very important for the people to understand and be grateful for what the West has manifested into reality. I also think that people in the West who have not actually been to any underdeveloped parts of the world are accustomed to living in prosperity and plenty, that they do not realize that this state of being is not the condition of the world by default. It had to be created through human blood, through human sweat, and through endless hours and hours upon hours, days upon days, months upon months, years upon years, and decades upon decades of hard, dedicated continuous work. And I really do not have any better explanation as to why the West is so developed and so nation-like, right? So fulfilled as a country. Well, it's not only hard work that has propelled the West forward, and by no means it can be explained with only one explanation. But I believe it's partly because of its fundamental Judeo-Christian values of work ethic, of trust, of honesty, and so forth, which is in short supply in my part of the world, where betrayal, crime, hatred is by default the fundamental axiom. So in today's video, I'm just going to express myself as to how I feel about the West and why it has captivated my psyche, my attention, and how it has had a substantial impact, and how it has really inspired me and impressed me, let's say. So I'll talk about my first experience of the West and my encounter with the Western values. So what happened was, maybe the second day when I landed in Australia, I went to a bank to create a bank account. The bank's name was Commonwealth Bank, and it's one of the most popular 4 banks here. So I went to the bank, walked in, and I saw a teller counter there. And I was directed to go there and talk about my provide my documents and register myself as a customer. And so I walked in, and there was nobody in front of the teller, so I thought, yeah, that's me, that's my turn, maybe nobody's there. But then when I stepped in, a guy called me from the back. Hey mate, you alright? And I looked at him, and I definitely knew he was quite angry and disgusted even. And then I realized that I had stepped in the line. I realized I had cut in the line. But what I failed to realize was, in the West, the line does not start just inches away from where the checkout counter wall was, right? I mean, it is generally the case that people have a 3 feet space between each other. Well, it's not applicable all the time, but generally it's the case that people give breathing room to other people to have an efficient and effective and comfortable waiting experience, let's say in this case. And then it occurred to me, wow, this is not the norm in my part of the world. From where I come from, you do not ever, if you have any sense, leave a 3 feet space in front of you, because there will be 50 thugs who will cut in the line if you provide even a small tiny bit of space. That was the place where I came from. And so it was a huge contrast and it was a shock to me, actually. I knew about the personal space, but it was actually quite different when you are involved in the creation of the cultural tradition, when you are involved in the process of, conducting yourself as a member of the Western world. It's different from just reading in a book or watching it in a movie. So that was one experience where I was quite amazed. Even though it may seem quite trivial, it is anything but trivial. Well, as far as I'm concerned, what it indicates is the general level of respect and admiration and, well, at least not even admiration, but recognition of an individual. That's brilliant. That has never ever happened in my world, in my part of the world. So that was quite a thing, and I think that's important to be pointed out, because don't take it for granted. That is not the default human psychological state and cultural state that had to be created over who knows how many years. And so that was a shock to me. And walking down the street, everywhere I look at is a reflection of this Western value of respect for the individual and prosperity. All these things are glimmering and advertising themselves all the time when I walk down the street. I mean, look at it. The roads are in perfect condition all the time, and the traffic is running smoothly. People are following the traffic lights, and people don't get run over on the zebra crossing when they're crossing the road, which happens very frequently in my part of the world. And electricity is on, the lights are on all the time, and water is running properly. Children are going to school. There's no strikes and no closure, right? There's no major public demands all the time, right? And people are free to walk on the street at whatever time they think is appropriate. And well, I'm not, by no means I am encouraging or advocating for hedonistic 1960s pleasure-seeking mode. I'm not advocating for any of that, but providing your citizen with a general level of freedom and protection and safety and peace of mind is, I think, one of the fundamental duty and responsibility and obligation of a nation state, of a nation and a government, which my country has, I think, failed seriously, and which I think the West has managed to at least maintain in an acceptable manner. So these are some of the differences and shocking revelations that I've had after my encounter with the Western world. And so I just don't realize why so many people are so ungrateful for what they have been provided. And when I walk down the street, I see many posters here in Sydney that is about Marxism and communism and about the socialist utopia that could be created if only, capitalists and rich were killed. I see so many posters proclaiming kill the rich or rape the rich, or denigrating and expressing resentment and jealousy and hatred towards anybody who has been successful, or let's say more successful than you. So that's that. But what they fail to realize is no social utopia has ever been as utopian as this. When I walk in the central CBD or areas near Darling Harbour or Sydney Opera House, well, that's as utopian, I think, as a place can get. Clean roads, running water, right? Facilities, transportation facilities, communication facilities, all the basic necessities and more has been provided to the public, and yet they are expecting for some utopia to emerge and fail to recognize the utopia that has already been created by the hard work and sweat and blood of the Western ancestors, I should say. So, well, I think that was fairly detailed and comprehensive account of my experience of the Western world. And, well, it's just my attempt to express myself. And I think that was an important distinction that had to be made. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please, let me know what you think about the video and how I could improve, and maybe your suggestion and feedback is going to be of significant importance in my future deliberations of my ideas. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.